Common man along with the industry is eagerly awaiting the union budget as it will provide major policy direction. India urgently needs tax reforms like the direct or indirect tax reforms, expansion of the service tax base to all forms of services, and a goods and service tax roadmap is expected. The government's revenue streams are under stress this year due to a slowing economy. On the direct tax front, changing of slab rates for individuals among others will be on the top of the agenda. Taxes code and a goods and service tax as well. We have a detailed report.
The union budget provides major policy direction which is eagerly awaited by a common man and the industry. India urgently needs tax reforms like the direct tax code and goods and services tax, which will improve the ease of doing business and also improve the tax GDP ratio. With a 7 to 8% gross domestic product growth estimate this for fiscal, a 20 to 25 increase in the overall absolute tax collections is what Finance Minister Pranab Mukherjee would be aiming at. On indirect tax reforms, the two most awaited announcements would be expansion of service tax base to all forms of services by embracing the negative list of services and the goods and service tax roadmap. Indirect tax collections in April-February 2011-12 increased 14.6% to 3,48,702 crore rupees compared to 3,04,212 crore rupees in the corresponding period of the last financial year. This is nearly 88.7% of the budget estimate for the full financial year. In February, these rose only 9.6% to 31,469 crore rupees against 28,705 crore rupees last year, with excise collection still the problem. The government now needs to collect about 44,000 crore in March to meet its target of budget of 3,93,000 crore. The Finance Ministry said that the overall growth in the indirect tax revenue collection during the month of February is 2.4% higher than last month's position. The government's revenue streams are under the stress this year due to a slowing economy expected to grow 6.9% in 2011-12 compared to 8.4% last year. Direct tax collections are expected to fall short of the target of 5,32,000 crore rupees by a huge margin. On the direct tax front, changing of slab rates for individuals besides additional relief on saving instruments to combat the impact of double-digit inflation would be on top of the agenda. However, major recommendations of the planned panel on the direct taxes code with respect to individuals would be deferred to 2013 and made to coincide with the new DTC law. Bureau Report, DD News, Mumbai.
To talk more on the budget expectation of the direct and indirect tax front, we are now joined by tax expert Zakir Hussain Kapasi in our studio. Mr. Zakir, welcome to DD News, welcome to Business News.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, we are all waiting for the union budget to be presented on Friday. But as a common man, we all know that there are challenges and opportunities for the government as well. We have different issues to tackle, to curb in inflation, to control the lowering growth and to fuel the growth also. But as a common man, what first thing comes to your mind, what we are expecting from this budget? Because this is the only budget before the election budget, and the need to pump funds in the system is the top of the agenda for the government.
Very true. As you said, this is a budget before the election, one budget before the election budget. A common man basically wants to have more in hand.
Right.
Ultimately, the expectation of a common man is how much will I save, how much will I have to spend, and how much will go out as taxes.
Right.
Taxes like direct and indirect taxes take away a lot of money from assessee's pocket, and normally it is the direct tax which is known to the general public. They are expected that they have more savings done for the future of their family, for themselves, and also spend as much as the economy is growing.
Right.
As you would see that the economy in last 30 years has shown a continuous upward trend.
Correct.
And that's one of the best thing to happen with India. India being one of the growing economy, and it's growing with a very good speed because of banking reforms and a lot of other infrastructure reforms that are happening in the nation. So I feel a common man would normally want to see that he is left with something more to spend, something more to save, and pay little lesser taxes than ever before.
What will be the relief on the taxpayer when it comes to the wallet of the investor or a common man? What are the tax reforms you are expecting, and do you expect more and more services will be coming under the tax net, and what will the relief now?
Basically, for a growing economy, three things are very important according to me. That first is education. That education is very prior for the growing economy, because as the generation grows, education is the only thing that will grow the economy.
Correct.
And I feel that in this budget we should expect some more reforms on the front of education, as already government has done something like under section 80E, they have allowed interest to be paid on educational loan is deductible, but I feel some extra benefits towards education should be rolled out. Another thing is that if there is more growth of infrastructure, then it would be a better thing for the economy. Make people invest more into infrastructure type of things and give them tax break in it, so that they save also and they contribute in the economy's growth also. Today normally a common man thinks tax as a burden, but I would say that it's not a burden, but it's a contribution towards the development of the economy. And if this understanding is changed by giving a little more than expected, I think there will be more people funding the infrastructure than being extracted out of them by means of heavy taxes.
As you said it correctly, because creating the educational system or the infrastructure, we are actually adding to the physical infrastructure of the economy, and everyone wants to be a part of the growing economy like India. As I asked earlier also, what do you think the service tax net, it will expand the service tax net? Is there any services left under the
I feel that government has done the most scanning of the services, and the impact of the last budget's addition itself is taking its own toll. I feel that either the limits of the services should be increased, which is 10 lakhs as of now, because today 10 lakhs is nothing. If a person giving services worth 10 lakh rupees, he works on a margin of 2-3%. Or 4%, he is left with nothing. Ultimately he is collecting and he is paying, but for him collecting, maintaining the records and making the payments on time to save all the penalties and litigations, it's very difficult from the point of view of accounting to maintain such records. I would request government that in this budget they should either increase the limits and not to think of adding any more services, because I think almost everything under the sun and under the sky is covered under service tax, which is already creating a lot of hardship for the common man.
Any tax reforms you feel the government should do, and what about the indirect taxes also? Just give us a brief on that.
Indirect tax, I would say that especially in some states where octroi is still prevalent and not taken off, it is creating a big burden, because the margin of a business is sometimes 3-4%, as I said, and the octroi itself is 3-4-5%. So it's creating so much of illegal transaction. People hide their imports into the state, and this is creating a negative for the economy. Economy is not growing of a state, of a nation. I feel that octroi reform is required very badly in the states where octroi is still prevalent, even though VAT is there. It was earlier said that when the VAT comes, octroi would be abolished, but I think for what reason, octroi is still there, VAT is also there. So it's actually adding to more taxes, and who's the person paying it? It's the common man who's utilizing the product and the services ends up paying more. So I feel there is a little more reform required on octroi front and service tax also.
One last question, as I mentioned earlier also, it's a very action-packed week. RBI has already declared the CRR cut by 75 basis points. What about the impact on the markets and as well as the mutual fund industry?
I feel CRR cut is one of the biggest things that could happen. In such a short span, government has reduced CRR twice. Last it was reduced from 6 to 5.5, and now it is furthermore reduced by 0.75. So it's a very good thing. 48,000 crore rupees has come into the economy, which is going to be utilized for the growth. And as you see, the bond markets have immediately reacted to it positively, and even the stock markets are showing positive sign. I think it's going to be a populist budget, which will definitely look ahead at government spending much far better than in past years.
Everyone is waiting for the tax reforms as well as the push for the major reforms. Zakir, thanks a lot for joining us on Business.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, moving on to some